What's up everybody, it's Mike here, and today we're going to be talking about the 3 most recommended beginner 3D printers on the market. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. All right, so today we're going to be talking about each one of these 3D printers. We're going to sit down individually and discuss what I like about them. I've purchased each one of these 3D printers with my own money. Not a dime has been received for any of these 3D printers. Nothing has been received for free in this video. So with that being said, we'll talk about the price real quick. So the Elegoo Centauri Carbon here in the middle is sitting at $299 plus shipping. You have the Bambu Lab A1 where the regular price is $399, but it's currently on sale through the Bambu Lab anniversary sale for $340. And you have the P1S combo, which regular price is $899 and it is $699 for the printer. With the combo, on sale, it is currently sitting at $699, and just for the printer, we're at $499. If you're watching this after the anniversary sale, the prices should be those higher prices, and the sale goes to about July 15th, I believe. So keep that in mind. One quick thing I want to say is I got the request to discuss sound on this video. When you're recording sound, especially even on my phone or on the camera, whether it's through a microphone, they have a tendency to eliminate a lot of the background noise. So what it does is it actually suppresses a lot of the sounds on each individual 3D printer. So it's hard to actually get a real reading on how loud they are. I will say of these 3D printers, these two are about the exact same. What I did was I took my microphone that I'm using here today and I hooked it up to my phone, got a phone app that gave me like a decibel reading. I put it on the exact same settings for each one of them, and the numbers were between 75 and 80. Now that decibel reading can change based on the sensitivity of your microphone. I put it on a level of 3, and when I had it on a level of 1, that shot down to like 60. So that's why I'm saying the sounds that you hear in a lot of these videos are probably not terribly accurate unless that person spent like $1,000, $2,000 on some sound gear. To put that in perspective, the A1 was down to 65 in those same tests. With the door closed, it does become a little quieter. I will say though, the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, at least to the naked ear, I guess instead of naked eye, it sounds louder, but again, according to the test, it was the exact same. Maybe it's because the chamber fan is just a lot deeper and the chamber fan wasn't really running when I was doing the test. But I will say this one definitely draws your ear to it, but that doesn't mean that this one can't as well. So if you're buying these purely based on sound, the A1 is the winner. These are the same. The next thing is quality. I believe, and this is where I'm gonna leave it, I believe you can get the same quality on each one of these 3D printers once you have them dialed in. That's that. The only thing that's going to change between these qualities is speed. I believe you can get these two to be the exact same and print the exact same quality and speed. And as far as the Bambu Lab A1, it's going to be slower, but people use these and like them for FDM miniatures. And honestly, it might be in that case scenario better than these two. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna sit down with each 3D printer individually, and we're gonna discuss the pros and cons of each one and who I would recommend them for. The Bambu Lab A1, I don't think it's any secret that honestly, this is one of my favorite 3D printers. I've made a lot of videos about it, and personally, I think it's great. I don't think you can go wrong buying the Bambu Lab A1. I think a lot of people have problems justifying it for being a bed slinger at the price, but at the end of the day, I think it's worth it. I think that the Bambu Lab A1 is the best bed slinger on the market that you can buy. As far as reliability, this thing has been a workhorse. Over 1,300 hours on it. I have not done any maintenance. It has been in my garage, dusty Arizona garage, and it works flawlessly still to this day. I will say though, I did, when I was moving around printers, break this little, ejector when it comes to the the purge, unfortunately, but man. And that's one of the great things though about Bambu Lab is that if you were to happen to break anything, I went on Bambu Lab's website, $4.99, I can purchase this. I'm probably just then gonna purchase some filament as well because it's on sale with their anniversary sale. And yeah, I can replace this whole part for $5. Don't have to worry about it. Whereas on other machines, you don't really know. You have to go through customer service and hopefully they have a spare part that you can buy or they'll send you. The other thing with the Bambu Lab A1 is you do want to make sure that you're cleaning at least on this other side. Let me try to pick it up here. The rail system in here, filament does have a tendency to get in there, and then you can actually have some layers that shift. I saw that on another video. I was like, oh, that makes sense. That is definitely what happens with mine as well. if you don't clean it out. So that's the only maintenance that I really do, is that I started to clean where those rail systems are, or whatever you call them, rails. You know, there's a belt down there. So just go ahead and clean that out once in a while. The other thing you get, right, is you're just involved in the Bambu Lab ecosystem. Whether you like it or not, being a closed ecosystem, it is a fantastic ecosystem to at least be in. So if I had to choose any 3D printing ecosystem to be in, it would be the Bambu Lab ecosystem. You know, the replacement parts, the Bambu Handy app, the Bambu Studio, I think it's all great. And honestly, I never used Orca to begin with. I always used the manufacturer's slicer, whether that's right or wrong. I personally think it has all the features that you need. I don't personally, in my daily use, miss out on anything that Orca has that Bambu Studio doesn't. We will comment on the build plates. The build plates for each one of these 3D printers is exactly the same. It's 256 by 256 by 256. It allows you to print all sorts of props, right? Helmets, it does get a little bit of a tight squeeze. You're probably gonna have to slice up helmets on each one of these printers. You know, the other thing with it is that a lot of companies have resulted to just the 256 by 256 by 256. And by companies, I mean the people who are making STL files. Droid Division, for example, makes everything so that way it fits on this build plate. And Galactic Armory has also started to make sure that a lot of their files are sliced for a Bambu Lab build plate. Frankly, that size is kind of the gold standard, and I guess since you get it on the Elegoo Centauri Carbon as well, it's not a big deal. We'll talk about the touchscreen on this printer. It's okay. You know, I have it off. Don't worry, that's why it didn't come up. It's okay. You know, it lags sometimes, but really I use and do almost everything from my computer anyway. The only time I ever need is if it detects like a tangle, maybe the filament ran out, so I have to click it. So it's a little laggy at that point, but honestly, it gets the job done. It's not a big deal to me. You're waiting an extra second or so. If you're looking at printing color, a lot of people have been asking me, do you pick up the AMS Lite? And I would say if you're looking at multicolored printing, you definitely want to pick it up. I use it as kind of like a filament runout system. So anytime I run out of filament, it automatically loads up. As long as you have a filament of same or similar color, I guess it would be the same. So with that being said, if you're thinking about doing multicolored at all, go ahead and pick it up now when you go and buy the combo. It is so much more expensive. I was looking at it, you basically lose the sale price if you end up buying it later, because again, it's extremely pricey outside of the combo bundle. That's probably how they get you to buy it, but you know, if you're going to multicolor print, I think it's worth it. If you plan on picking up like a P1S combo later, maybe you can hold off on this and use that money towards getting a P1S combo. Or if you're buying the Centauri Carbon, of course, then you don't even have a need for this. But you probably don't need multiple printers with multicolored, or maybe you do because it's kind of slow when you multicolor print. But yeah, I think if you want to multicolor print, definitely get it. I haven't had any issues with it. I guess the only issue I had was cardboard spools don't like to sit on these. Overture at least, but a lot of people have said that they had the same issue with Overture. What happens is it just detects a tangle so often, and I have to keep going out and fixing it. So I haven't necessarily tried it with all plastic spools yet. That's going to be my next step. But I would say pick it up if you like it. A lot of people have theirs, they like them. And if you're going to get multicolored eventually anyway, just save up a little bit and save that extra money and buy it in the combo. So like I said, this printer has been a workhorse, and who would I recommend this printer for? If you're only going to be printing PLA and PETG, you are the people I would recommend this printer to. If this is going to be your first 3D printer, I think you'll have a great time. You can't print ABS, ASA, things like that because there is no enclosure over this whole printer. But I think this is probably Bambu Lab's one of their most solid printers in the lineup. Might I say the best printer in their lineup for what you're getting. I get it, it's expensive for a bed slinger, but it is so reliable. Over 1,300 hours printed on mine, and I have not had one failure that wasn't my fault. You know, whether I didn't clean the build plate or I didn't check my settings on something, every single failure on this build plate or on this printer has been my fault, and I can confidently say that I would recommend this printer to anybody. You know, a lot of people will comment, okay, well, I've seen a lot of people have issues on their 3D printers. Well, guys, Bambu Labs is the most popular 3D printer on the market right now, or 3D printing company. Their subreddit has like 3-4 times as many people as the next like highest company. Like, it's crazy. Like, you guys, you need to realize that of course you're seeing a lot of issues because they have so many printers out there. You know, even if you had 1 in every 100 printer fail, and then let's just say a company like Creality or Elegoo has 1 in every 50 fail, you're still gonna see more from Bambu Lab because they have over 3 times the fan base, at least on the subreddit, right? That's what I'm comparing it to. So you need to keep that in mind when you're shopping for these printers and you see negative feedback. There's so many people that have these that are happy with them, and vice versa. Like the Elegoo Centauri Carbon has so many people that are happy, but you need to put in perspective just how big Bambu Labs is. So yeah, I don't think I really have too much to add. I'm not here to, I'm just speaking on my experiences with these 3D printers, but overall, I would definitely pick this up if you're only looking at printing PLA, PETG. Yeah, I think it's a workhorse. I think you're gonna love it, honestly, and I don't think you'll regret picking this printer up, and at the end of the day, you're gonna want another one. So if you're looking at something like the P1S, you can get 2 of these instead of one P1S. So, I definitely think it's a fantastic printer. Now we have the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, and this is a very interesting 3D printer, and understandably so. Elegoo has run a campaign based on price and what this thing can do for the price. At $299, if you're looking at a budget Core XY 3D printer, there is no other option. It is the Elegoo Centauri Carbon. If you have to have the Core XY, if you have to have all these other things, if you have to be able to print ABS, ASA, things like that, there is no other option under $400. Yes, can you get the Anycubic Cobra S1 under $400? Yes. But we've also seen that printer come across some QC issues. So depending on what you're looking at, it is the Elegoo Centauri Carbon in this price range. I will say, of course, Elegoo had to make a few adjustments to get down to this $299 price. One of my small gripes on this thing is the filament runout sensor, is that sometimes it has a tendency to get caught. So if you're at the end of a spool and it gets caught for whatever reason, the printer has no way to detect that no filament is going into the print head. So on something like the Bambu Lab A1, it's going to detect like, hey, there's a tangle, it has a lot of extra sensors in place to protect you from that. So the Carbon doesn't. So it just simply has the filament runout sensor on the side. So anytime it gets snagged, and I think especially at the end of a roll, when it gets pulled out of the extruder gears on the inside, it has a tendency to have fails. I would say that's where probably 50% of my fails have come on this printer. I haven't had many, but 50% of my fails on this printer have come from that filament runout sensor and it just getting caught and not actually pulling the filament all the way through. Outside of that, for the most part, I did have a bad nozzle as well. A lot of you guys have seen my story on that. I just have a gripe. I don't like that there's no replacement parts and there's not nozzles being a consumable actively in stock. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. So with that being said, it is pretty well built for the price tag of $299. I mean, you have this die-cast aluminum frame, you have a glass front, glass top, which actually I think they probably could have even saved more cost if they go to plastic. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, is plastic cheaper or not? I mean, overall, it's pretty good. Like I said, it's pretty good. You get a hardened steel nozzle right out of the box. It is brass encased, so it's not like your traditional fully hardened steel nozzle, but at the end of the day, it's going to get your job done for your abrasive filaments. Yeah, so I think it's a good budget option. Reliability is still a factor here. We don't know how long it's going to last. I have a little over 500 hours on my printer. However, it's become last in my lineup. The Centauri Carbon, at least for me, I'll go to my Bambu Lab P1S, then I'll go to the Bambu Lab A1, and then I'll go to the Centauri Carbon if I'm printing a project. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. I don't know, I don't really have anything specific as to why. I would just say, if I've had a fail on this one, it's more prone to failures versus those other printers, at least so far with me using it. But if you're looking at something, you need to be able to print ABS, ASA, you don't have more than $400 to spend, I think the only option for you is the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, and I think it's a good buy. Like, I think most people are going to be extremely happy with this printer. Bambu Lab, you're kind of paying the premium price, and you're not paying that at all with the Elegoo Centauri Carbon. So I do think if you're someone who wants to print with carbon fiber, those, again, the ABS, the ASA abrasive filaments, yeah, this is a good option right out of the box. I think it'll suit you well.
just keep in mind there's no replacement parts. So if something does go bad, you do have to go through customer service, which again, Elegoo does respond quite often. But yeah, I think overall, Elegoo is also listening to their customers. Mine's kind of dated at this point. The inside LED bar has been swapped out. I had like this LED bead light, trash, but they have swapped that out, and yeah, it looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and leave a time lapse also up on the screen so that way you can see that. So overall, it looks pretty good. I forgot to do that with the A1, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave that now. So yeah, you can see overall, you know, you're not gonna buy any of these printers based on a time lapse, but you know, they get the job done. And speaking on Elegoo listening to their customers as well, you also have the filament on the side, which is a great benefit. Just the little time that I used a printer with a filament spool on the back, it was annoying, so I greatly appreciate it being on the side. The other thing that I will note is that there is no multicolored yet for the Elegoo Centauri Carbon. They did say it would come out in Q3, but we just haven't seen any details about it. We don't know how much it's gonna cost. I would guess it's 150 to 200, because if you get more than that, their budget price point starts to not make sense. So to me, I think it's gonna be in the 150 to 200 ballpark range. If it's more than that, I would be shocked. They also don't have an app yet. It did come out with support for one of their resin printers, so I'm suspecting that the Elegoo Centauri Carbon is not far behind. However, you can type in the IP address and you can go directly to the printer from your phone, and then you can just do it that way. So if you're away from home, unfortunately, you don't have a way to monitor this 3D printer. However, with the app coming out, hopefully that comes soon. So to recap all of this, I think it's a great budget 3D printer. I think overall you're going to be extremely happy with it if you picked it up or if you have it on pre-order. However, I do think there's better options if you're willing to spend a little more money.
Just want to comment real quick before we get to talking about the P1S, is that sometimes I forget to look directly into the camera if I have the mirrorless camera screen out. And so I apologize. So those last few clips might not have had it, but I fixed it. I'm gonna look straight into your guys' eyes this time, okay? Okay, so with that being said, we have the P1S here, and this is an interesting one because a lot of times I was recommending the P1S. I would say, hey, just get the P1S, but I didn't actually own one. And you know what? I need to put my money where my mouth is, and I bought a P1S so that way we can make videos with it and compare it, so that way I can have a true comparison. That's how I know the sound is pretty much the same when it comes to the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, by doing those tests. This does have a plastic housing. To me, I don't see it as a big deal. It is nice that the Elegoo Centauri Carbon has the die-cast aluminum, but is it really doing anything for the actual functionality of the 3D printers? Maybe. I don't know how the heat stuff is with keeping in heat. Yeah, but okay, so one thing to note while I'm on the topic of heat, if you want to print abrasive filaments with the P1S, you do need to upgrade to a hardened steel nozzle. It only comes with a stainless steel. They do include another stainless steel nozzle out of the box, which is a very nice feature. I feel like a very nice touch. A lot of companies are including little things like that. If it's a consumable and you provide two, I think that's awesome. So with that being said, though, if you want to print the ABS ASA, you're gonna have to upgrade. Outside of that, so far my experience with this 3D printer has been awesome. I will say, just like everyone notes about the touchscreen, yeah, is it annoying? But I don't really use it because I print everything from Bambu Studio. If you can control everything from the app, so you really don't have a need to use it. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say on that. I don't even, maybe if BQ wanted to send the Panda Touch, I would try it out. I probably wouldn't buy one myself because I'm just doing everything from the app. Outside of that, I haven't had a fail yet on this printer in the few days that I've owned it. So I stand by all my recommendations that I've made to buy the P1S. I think you know what you're getting, and you're paying for software on a lot of the Bambu Lab printers. You know, versus the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, does this have, like, without the AMS, does it have Tangle? Does it have like all these other AI features? No, it doesn't. But you know what it does? It just works. For example, like even the filament sensor being directly in the print head, that something small, but it makes more sense.
If you get the AMS, right, I think the AMS is worth it. The same thing, I use it for filament reloading. I already did it. Normally what would get snagged on a Elegoo Centauri Carbon print with the filament sensor and then just resulted in an air print, it pulls it out no problem with the AMS. I haven't had any issues with it emptying a spool. So there's small quality of life features with that. And you know, a lot of people have used these systems for thousands of hours and they have consistently still been recommending them. You know, I saw someone the other day said they had 6,000 hours on one of their P1Ss. You have the replacement parts, so that way you can always keep this thing running on Bambu Lab's website. And I think really when it comes to Bambu Lab, that's what you're paying for. If Bambu Lab didn't have their ecosystem, if they had the bare bones minimum like Elegoo did, I don't think I could recommend it. But since they do, and you get everything that comes with that, you know, the ability to buy replacement parts and just all the integration with Bambu Studio and, you know, their app works, I really don't have any issues with it. Yeah, that's just kind of where we're at, I guess. One thing I will note, it just reminded me on the Wi-Fi, you can only connect to 2.4 bands on this one. On the Elegoo, you can actually connect to a 5 band. So if that's an issue for you as well, Elegoo, good for you, you did that. I would say if you have the money, I would just go with the P1S. It seems dated with this screen, but frankly, they need to give you a reason to buy the X1C. And so I think I would go with this printer if money is not an object, right? If you're saying, okay, my budget is $700, I don't want to spend any more, you know, with shipping and taxes, you'll spend more, but getting rid of those, out of all 3 of these printers, I would pick up the P1S. I think you know what you get, the reliability factor, you get the Core XY, so if you ever do want to upgrade and, you know, get a hardened steel nozzle, the ABS, the ASA, you have that available to you. So you can do that. Yeah, so outside of that, I don't really have much else to say. As I get more time with this 3D printer, yeah, maybe, but at $499, I think this thing is a deal. At $699 with the combo, you already have the multicolored system. You're not having to wait. You know, you get it. I ordered mine on Tuesday. I got it on Friday. Yeah, I think it's, I guess I don't know what else to say. You know, the printer prints, it does that awesome. I've had any issues. Quality's great. Yeah. Okay, so speaking on a few other printers that Bambu Lab offers, they have the Bambu Lab P1P. If you're thinking about getting the P1P, I would just get the P1S. If you know for sure you're never going to enclose it, then yes, you can save $100. But if you want to go ahead and buy the enclosure later, either you have to 3D print it yourself or you're stuck buying it from Bambu. And I think it's like $170 for the enclosure if you buy it after. Again, it's the same thing with like the combos and stuff. It's so much more price efficient to just buy it ahead of time versus like, or buy it when you buy the printer versus like upgrade the P1P later. To me, just get the P1S if you're thinking about the P1P, but at $299 and $399 with the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, yeah, it's hard. You know, I'm a fan of Bambu Lab products. I get it. Some people are worried about their closed ecosystem and the terms of service that happened in January. I don't think it's going to change anything, honestly. For some people it will, but for the normal consumer that they just want a printer that prints out of the box, it's not going to change anything. Elegoo, yes, can you use Orca Slicer with it? Sure, but I never used the Orca Slicer to begin with. I always use whatever software that the manufacturer gets because I think that's the proper way to test a 3D printer. Orca Slicer's not offering me anything that, you know, I'm actually going to need. So at least to me, you know, for me, for some of you, maybe it does, but for me, it doesn't offer anything additional. Speaking on the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, unfortunately, that one's not open sources either. It's a lot of people think it's a modified version of Clipper. Elegoo themselves has said it's not Clipper. Yeah, so it's just all your personal preference, guys. If you're more of a budget person, you want to save the money, I think the Centauri Carbon is a great option. If you're willing to pay that premium Apple-like quality for the Bambu Lab, then yeah, I think you'll be totally happy, and I think you will not regret picking it up. Yeah, so outside of that, guys, if you have any questions, I do my best to answer them in the comments below. Apologies, I couldn't get more accurate on like sounds and stuff. I tried to just discuss my thoughts, and hopefully if you fall into like these price ranges, you found what is good for you. Like I said, if you need an enclosed Core XY under $400, like, and you can't spend a dime over, get the Centauri Carbon. If you're only printing PLA, PETG, but your budget's $400, I think you can't go wrong with the Bambu Lab A1. And then if price is not an object and you're like, okay, $500 for the P1S or $699 the combo, and you can print with it today. If you think about that, if the Elegoo Centauri Carbon multicolor print system is $200, that's $500 you're getting that setup. You're only paying $200 more for the P1S, and you can get it today during their anniversary sale. Yeah, so again, none of this video is sponsored. I'm just a fan of Bambu Lab products. If something changes with that, I'll definitely make a video letting you guys know. But that's where I stand on these 3D printers right now, and I put my money where my mouth is. I have 2 of the printers. And yeah, so outside of that, guys, if you did appreciate the video or you enjoyed the video, please make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I also have a Cobra 3 Max video coming soon, my initial first impressions. Anycubic was kind enough to send that my way, so they have no reign over that video either. I will never make a video that I do not have creative control over. So outside of that, guys, I appreciate you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.